or attend to personal matters, please make a motion to recess. For those participating by phone, please keep your device muted unless you are speaking. When speaking, kindly state your name for the benefit of those viewing the live stream. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Cottle?
Here.
Councilmember Graham?
Here.
Councilmember Crafton?
Here.
Councilmember Johnson?
Here.
Councilmember Rubio?
Here.
Madam Mayor, Councilmember Schmidt is absent and excused. Unless objection is raised, you do have a quorum. All members are with us in chambers.
Thank you. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, and Councilmember Graham, would you please lead us?
My honor. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The next item of business is approval of the agenda. Are there any proposed changes to the agenda? Hearing none, the agenda is approved. We are now at persons to be heard, a time for members of the public to share their views with the council. This is not a question and answer period or a time for dialogue. Speakers may be referred to administration, or issues raised may be taken under advisement by the council or administration. We don't have anybody signed up, so I will close public participation. And we are now at unfinished business. Madam Clerk, please read the item by title.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Fiscal year 2027 Budget Development Committee of the Whole.
Is
Madam
there-
Mayor, I move that we go into committee of the whole.
Is there a second?
Rubio seconds.
It's been moved by Councilmember Johnson and seconded by Councilmember Rubio to enter the committee of the whole. Is there objection to the motion? Hearing none, we are now in committee of the whole. The time is 6:02 p.m. And Ted, you're up.
Good evening, council. Good evening, mayor.
Turn your mic on, please.
Is it not on?
No.
Button at the bottom. Oh, red means.
There you
on.
go.
Well, sorry about that.
No problem.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, clerk, and the council. This is, in reality, our second portion of our, as we move through the budget. This is presenting our revenue projections that we have so far. I can say that there's probably about 2 projections that we're still working on that will be coming back to the council regarding. One is our sales tax revenue. We're in the process of doing, as we stated, I believe, in the kickoff, an analysis of our revenue, what levers there are for the revenue, and a much probably better estimate than I can give on looking at all the factors and giving us a really solid projection for sales tax revenue. So we're not having the type of revenue fluctuations of a 2 million under, then 800,000 over, that we can level that line. And the second one is we're working with our investment managers, and we're sort of really waiting now for President Trump and who's picked as the Fed chairman, because that'll affect a major portion of our investments. A large portion of our investments are kept in the AMLET fund that AML runs for all of the cities. And that rate is based on the bottom part of the overnight Fed rate. So we really have to see what's going to have to happen to the overnight interest rates that the Feds are going to set, because it will affect our investment earnings. Our investment earnings have gone from 900,000 one year to 3.8 another year. So it's been fluctuating, and we're hoping by having the experts do it instead of a poor old finance director trying to put his thumb up in the air, that we'll get a much better projection of where rates are going. So this again is more of a resource for the council. One of the rules of modern budgeting is that you truly set your revenue, and then before you finally make your final allocations of your resources, that it's set. You don't move it back and forth. So hopefully, except for those two sections, that this will stay stable as we go through the process. Again, this is way too many PowerPoint slides. It's 35, so I'm going to go through it really fast, or fast enough so that we spend the majority of our time on the roadmap between council and administration and telling where the departments should be building their budget and the path forward. So hopefully this all works, James. Oh, Jamie, excuse me. Oh, okay. Am I doing it wrong already? Oh. Really quickly, I wanted to just give a quick overview of a couple items. Over the last year, as we look at fund balance at the end of FY26, we've had an intensive investment program in our infrastructure. Last year, or in FY26, we have approximately 19 million going in infrastructure, which includes 3.5 for sewer to go towards the new plant to increase our capacity, 2.5 million for water projects, 6.5 million matching airport investment and economic development, then 4 or 5 million into roads, into general investments. For example, that would include the modernization of our IT programs, or going to Tyler and the other software that we're moving to for new permitting, et cetera. So that goes there. Again, as I go through this, the council really needs to realize we are still in a very healthy position. Even after utilizing approximately over 16 million of our fund balance committed to capital projects, we still have over 21 million. I would say that no city with a population of 8,000 or 9,000 people has that type of reserve, except, as I think some council member pointed out, with Valdez with their large permanent fund due to the taxing of the oil pipe. As we go through this, I am including in revenue, as we talk about the general fund, the dispatch contracts, so you can see that for comparative purposes. And then I'll show you a picture without that. We're projecting dispatch contracts are going to be about 4.5 million. That's in fluctuation because one of our major contracts is with the Department of Public Safety, and we're just starting the negotiations with them on that. As I stated, that, if you can see it, is a picture of where we're at as of the end of FY25 and where we project we'll be at in the FY26 after we transfer all the funds over to our different funds, the water fund, sewer fund, airport. So as you can see, the purple, the green is the fund stabilization. That's per code what we need to keep, that the council has decided 6 months of operating expenditures, less transfers and expenses covered by government. The purple, I guess that's purple, is the committed to fund balance. That's the amount that is restricted by council. This isn't something that administration could go into without getting that resolution or through this budget ordinance process to utilize those funds. So they're a more restricted fund. And then there's this little blue part that is really at the direction of our finance director on assignments. That part includes compensated absences. We have probably about $1.6 million, Jackie, at the end of last year in compensated absences that we say that part of the fund balance needs to stay there. So if the city ever just picked up and left, those people are always protected. It's sort of like a endowment or a restricted part of the fund balance that private sector has to protect their employees. And then also included in that would be our encumbrances from last year or moving forward, and opioid, a small 40,000. Yes.
So the compensated absences you're talking about, that would include any leave balances that are on the book, is that
At the
correct?
end of the year. So at the end of the year, Councilmember Graham, and you probably have done this in businesses that you've been in, you look at what your balance should be based on looking at what people have at the end of the year versus what you had in your balance, and then you adjust the expenditures to match what the true liability is at the end of the fiscal year.
Thank you.
Oops. Again, this is just giving a historical picture of our general transfers over the last 10 years. As you can see, we have had like I said, an intensive increase in the infrastructure investment. And that's utilized if you went back to the page before where we saw that huge rise in our committed to capital, during the pandemic, we got a very big shot to our reserves due to the fact that the federal government paid for our public safety services for over a year. So that was 5-6 million included dispatch. So we had a large increase. The council didn't go and spend that money, so it did go into reserves to be used for capital projects as we need them. And as we go through this capital budget process, as we'll be showing in Archie, geez, I gotta stop thinking in the past. Eric, not Archie. We'll be discussing, we have a significant issue that we need to expand our sewer plant. It's getting towards capacity, and we're investing, looking at $12 million over probably a 2-year period for the land we need and the new digesters, whatever the heck they truly are, right? That's way past me, and I trust Eric on that. So general fund revenue. Our projection right now, not going into increasing contracts and dispatch that much, will be about $37,306,000, including about $4.5 million in dispatch revenue, which will be about a $1.2 million or $1.3 million increase. Again, the three sources of main revenue that we have, excuse me.
I'm sorry, so that 37 million is sort of, even though you're not gonna give us a number for sales tax, because that's our main generation, that's embedded in there.
You will see that in pretty much the next 2 pages coming up, Councilmember Johnson. Yes, it is embedded in there. I was going to state there's 3 main sources of revenue: sales tax, interest earnings, and intergovernmental revenue comprise about 96% of our revenue, which as we go forward, we are going to have to look at maybe some diversification diversification. In the past, when I was the finance director, we had a much easier, and the council members in the past had a much easier idea of what diversification of revenue could be, because we knew our sales tax was going up by 7 or 8% a year. So we could say diversification of revenue back then was our economic base. If we brought in a new Target or Dispatch or Lowe's or Home Depot, that was diversification of revenue. Now that our sales tax, I would say, is starting to flatten out, it will be much more of a challenge to bring in revenue through just sales tax. I was looking at, for example, if we wanted 500,000 more of sales tax revenue, that was our projection. That'd mean that we'd have to come up or bring in the private sector or change exemptions or whatever by $20 million. So it's getting harder, as we do economic development, to match what Walmart, Target, Fred Meyer's, and those big box stores have brought in.
Ted, during COVID, our sales tax went up 10%.
Yes, Mayor.
How much does that figure into it? It's like a bell curve. We're at the top, and
We
it's
were at the
flattening out.
top.
So how much does that play into that?
Into the new revenue?
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, it is happening that the pandemic is probably hurting our sales tax revenue, because we did hit that, as the mayor said, the bill top where everyone was buying, they have it delivered. The trouble is now we are having buying habits change. And we're going to know this more when McKinley comes in, due to the fact that people like my former council member use their phone and have it delivered to their residence. And if that's outside of the city and we don't have a box store or something showing that, that is a change, that's a buying habit that affects our sales tax. So as you'll see as we go forward, there's going to be a flattening of that sales tax curve that Councilmember Johnson was looking to.
Madam
So-
Mayor, sorry,
Mr. Crafton?
thank you. Of that 26.8 million, do we know how that's broken up between some of those big box stores? Like, do we know?
We can get that information, and I'm sure it'll be coming through the analysis. We can't give you, we have it actually in our financials, sort of a breakdown by the type. If I remember right, Jackie, we can't give direct sales tax information, but we can, you will see that breakdown through 25 on February 26th, and we can send that to you also.
And it'll be broken down in the sense of like the big box stores
Categories,
versus
yes.
small business type.
Retail.
Yeah, gotcha, okay.
Yeah.
But we can't
And-
say like Walmart brings in this much, Fred Meyer's brings in this much.
They
I hear
wouldn't be pleased if,
the rumor is that Walmart's most of it. I mean, from what I understand, Walmart's a larger portion of our sales tax though, right?
and it's been a long time, Councilmember Crafton, that I've looked into that, so I couldn't tell you that in
Thank
truth
you.
right now anyway. So this is by a table, and then this one really gives you a good picture. Now it's showing you like what Councilmember Johnson was alluding to. If you look down below, the dark blue is sales tax. You can see the orange is investments. The green is intergovernmental. Now the blue is that dispatch revenue that is truly dedicated to dispatch, that would be moving to the special revenue fund. But this does give you a good picture of what we rely on and what we'll be relying on as we move forward. There's several levers, as we said, we grow our economy. You could look at, and these are just Ted Leonard speaking, not administration recommendations. You have sales tax exemptions. The cap has been the same amount since 1993. We have never changed the cap from $500 like other entities have. So there's are things that you can look at, but of course, what we hope for and why we look at Crystal so much is mostly we love to still bring in our more sales tax through a larger economic base. The next one, and
Sorry,
I-
real quick there, Ted. When you say a larger economic base, are you talking about the diversification between which businesses are currently exempt from sales tax right now? Is that what you're meaning?
no,
No, new ones.
no,
New businesses. Okay.
new businesses, as we move forward, hopefully we're even more successful with Councilmember Graham, you may have to help me, or Jackie, the Alaska Remote
Seller
Sales Tax Commission that you'll see in a minute that remote sales tax is still a very small part of our overall sales tax. It's still mainly what we collect in the city. So if you go through here, if you take out the dispatch contracts, we just wanted to show you what a picture of the breakdown would look at. Then sales tax is 83%. Investments in 26 were 10%, and governmental was that 4%. So those three items are a majority of our revenue. Then if you look at 27, sales tax is still going to be the majority at 84%. Investments, we believe will be going down, so that would be approximately 9%. And intergovernmental revenue will maintain at about 4%. That includes the JAG grant, the VEST. We have a $50,000 cyber grant, those type of grants. And then there is some grants from the borough, the $100,000 grant from the borough, and a couple other grants that actually dispatch have gotten with, what is it, Lori? The SOS?
SEOC.
Yes. Then the next one is exactly looking at just sales tax alone. And we're projecting it's going to go up to about 26.8 from, we made an adjustment. Last year they projected it around 27 million. I'm going to be coming back to ask you to reduce that number so we can keep truly comparative. It won't change it because we've been very lucky. At the same time, sales tax has gone down. We are under projected about the same amount in investment earnings. So the two are sort of balancing them out. So we don't believe we're going to have a drastic change in our revenue picture. It's just at where they're at. Just to let everyone know, so, it was going fairly flat up to 2019. That is when the council, when they did the police department, stated to the people or our citizens that to maintain all the buildings that we're having in this new police department, that we raised the rate to 2.5% from 2%. So when you see 2019, you're seeing that huge jump in that delta. And then as the mayor said, if you look at 21 and 22, you see that delta still went up, and that was when the pandemic was. And then now you're seeing that delta start to level off again. And also, we started collecting the remote sales tax in March, where our first dollars came in March of 2025. No, excuse me, I'm sorry. Ooh, I don't know how I did that one. 2023, excuse me, council.
Make more sense.
You should have. Sorry about that, council. I don't know how 5 is my big fat fingers. Or 2021, what am I, I'm sorry.
21?
Yes, 21. But by the next chart, you can see how I was off. So that is going to have to be changed on my PowerPoint. But if you can look at it, the bar graph is showing how that went. And you can see through 2027, we are gaining more in our remote sales tax, but I can tell you so far in FY 26 or 7, that trend is even starting to level off. That we're believing sales tax is pretty much right now in the economy we have sort of coasting with where inflation is going. We're projecting about 3% in sales tax increase. We're projecting about 2.5 to 2.8 in inflation, US inflation, not Alaska inflation. But so those two are sort of starting to mirror each other right now.
Ted, the remote seller sales tax, basically that's collected based on where the destination of the package is going, right? So if I purchase, like for instance, I live in the city, obviously. So because I'm purchasing something and I live inside, well, actually it's not the destination of the package, it's where the point of origin is. So because my address is inside the city, I get charged the sales tax.
And post office too, so it's destination. If you have a zip code and it's delivering to a Wasilla City zip code, it's going to be charged.
The 2.5%.
Yeah, and then our sales tax auditor also told me that if they have a physical presence in the city, those sales are also taxed. And
So everybody that has a PO box at the Main Street PO box, if your package is being delivered there, you're also getting charged
Yes.
sales tax.
But you can go in and, like with Amazon, you can go in and say, I don't live in the city and fill
Can
out
exempt
this
yourself
stuff
out.
and you're exempt.
but most people do not.
Most people don't know that.
Well, most people don't do that, even though they live outside the city.
So Ted, is part of this flattening due to Amazon home deliveries where it used to be, if I lived outside the city limits,
I
it would
believe
be
so.
delivered to my post office box and would therefore be taxed, but now with Amazon Prime or whatever it's called, it's delivered, directly to somebody outside the city, is that
I
a
believe
factor?
that is part of that. Again, that's why we do have McKinley Research doing an analysis for us where they can really dig into our sales tax and that information and tell the council and administration, where sales tax is. And our goal is to have some type of model coming forward that we would utilize to project sales tax for each of the budgeting cycles. I'm sure that'll have to be updated every couple of years, but
Thank you.
now, and I want to just state on these, council, we have not projected any growth in expenditures yet because we're just starting that process. We have the revenues and just wanted to sort of give you a picture of what our departments are looking at as they're going to build their expenditure budget. We had this same type of presentation Monday for about 4 to 5 hours, going through the numbers and how we need to move forward, and also waiting for our discussion with the council too. So again, the expenditures for FY '27, I just left the same. I could have left them off completely, but I thought this at least gives us sort of a picture of where we're going and challenges that the city may be facing. And again, to remind the council is that we're in a very good fiscal position, and there's no, I hate to say it, sky is falling type of thing, that we are starting to have more limited resources, but we have a lot of tools, and based on the council being fiscally conservative, we're in a good place to help make this transition if there is some dramatic or changes in the buying habits. We have the funds and reserves and a good team to help the council over the next 2 to 3, 4 years to make the transition if there's any transitions to be made.
Ted, could you explain the headers on the last two columns there? They look like they're labeled the same, but
Oh, gee. I'm sorry. They are, council, I don't know why when I saved it didn't change. That should be its percent of increase of expenses, so I apologize. I'm embarrassed.
Which column should that be?
Which column's right?
Yeah.
The second one should be expenses. In there right now. That's expenses, Councilmember Graham.
thank you.
Okay. Then, this is just showing a graph of what it would be if we did not make any new transfers or a growth in expenditures. Currently, right now, it's about 5 to 6 million that we would have with no changes in expenditures or transfers for transfers and growth of expenditures. Again, we have not started we're just in the front process of doing our expenditure budget. And then I just threw in, oh, yes, Councilman.
Going back to slide 14, so you kept our expenditures totally flat, however, we know that our expenditures.
Oh, you bet.
So I mean, if you project that line from 2026 on the similar slope, we're gonna have a problem. That's what that's saying.
I would say that it won't be on the same slope, but again, yes,
Well, I mean, it
that's,
changed
that should
that
be a
slope
challenge.
between 2025 and 2026, so I don't understand why it would go down considering.
I would, and I can't say because we haven't gone through the process and we don't have direction from administration, that I would say a section or a portion of our transfers for the other funds for infrastructure will be out of the committed, that it'll be recommended to be utilized out of the committed. I'm, without, like I said, we're just in the middle, but you're correct, and that is one of the reasons why I'm showing this, to show the council that, there'll be decisions to be made on, again, priority-based budgeting, balancing the cost of services, balancing the investment that is needed, and
So this is not a ho-hum budget, because
No,
that projection there is scary to me.
And it is not, and we would not have that, Councilmember Johnson, till, the end of March. That's where the department heads are starting their budget, and I can tell you they saw the same picture. So they understand the challenges that we're going to be facing as we move forward. And again, that's why I showed this graph. And that's why I kept the expenditure number in there, just to show it.
Mr. Linder, may I ask a question that might help? So when you talk, I'm just trying to get this straight in my head. When you talk about that, if we go back to page 4, you're talking about perhaps taking money out of the purple,
Out of the purple,
out of the purple.
which we did in the prior two budgets too, for investments. And then the next one is including the transfers, and that does show, again, Councilmember Johnson, what we did in FY '26, when you include all the transfers to the other funds. We were above our revenue line. And again, the section right now is right as we start expenditures, we now have the revenue projections, and we will start building the budget over the next month and a half based on our revenue projections.
Again, Madam Mayor, the slope then from 52 million down to 32 million is still dependent on what our expenses actually are. So that slope might not be the same. It could be considerably higher than the 37.
I'd say the slope on that, you'd have to go back to 2 slides ahead, because this slope is mainly based on the $14 to $15 million that we transferred to water, sewer, and the airport in '26. That's the one that jumps that, and when you include transfers, that's where you can have sort of a wave going, and that's where the council is a very strategic part of that, because you do control that purple area that we're talking about. You know, that if we're going to use a portion of fund balance, well, everything has to be approved by the council, but the discussion needs to be made early as we move forward through the process, that we are going on to, like we said, a flattened revenue curve, and unless we have different increases in revenue, that we're going to have to either look at less of a investment into the other funds like we had in the past. If you look at that, or the transfers back up to the front section, you can see that until about approximately 2023, we didn't make more than $4 to $5 million of a transfer to the other funds.
That's page 5. Page 5.
Page 5. So again, as we look at what investments needed to be made in infrastructure, and you know, the growth we do have or will have in expenditures that just come with inflationary pressures of 2.5%, our salary increases, there's a lot of levers that the council will be balancing with administration as we go through this budget.
Madam Mayor.
Mr. Crafton?
Thank you, Mayor. Ted, on page 16 there, remind me how we got to the 52 million there. Is that a
15
bunch of grants?
52 million is the expenditures for FY '26, budgeted expenditures and the transfers. And again, part of the transfers that will be made are still, I'm projecting, and I can just let you know, I guess I can say this, James, it's not in the ordinance yet, that we need to make approximately $8.4 million of transfers to the water, sewer, and airport funds to complete that balanced budget from last year. Last year, we passed the expenditure side, but the previous finance director had a discussion with the council on, for example, the $5 million that they didn't want to move that $5 million from the airport fund and have it funded by the general fund because of interest earnings. That philosophy went past just that 4.1 million. So I recommended to the interim finance director and administration, there's ways to do that through policy. We can treat transfers sort of like grants in a way that you don't transfer the money from the general fund to the fund until it's going to be expended. So if you want to leave it in the general fund to earn interest earnings, that's less restricted for the council and administration. There's policy ways to do that than what that the previous finance director was trying to do.
Mr. Johnson?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Ted, what part, where, listen, I can't balance my checkbook, so, where does the grants show up in this?
The grants are, remember, this is not where most of the grants that you're talking about, Mayor, are in the capital. And this is an operating budget
Okay.
presentation. Most of, probably about 10 to 15 million of grants are actually capital. We have, as we stated in this budget, oh, where's the category? Right. We're only projecting about $1.4 million in grants for the general fund. This is still just general fund revenue.
What page is that you're looking, sorry?
Sorry? Going back to page 7 or slide 7. So again, we're looking at operating revenue. This isn't part of the capital budget that we'll be presenting later.
Now, Ted, on this slide on page 16 here, go over the numbers for me again. You said between water, sewer, and what was the other fund, roads? You said it was about 16 million versus the previous year of about 8 million. Was that, could you run those numbers by me again?
And this would be, you can see sort of the gauge of what they are. Councilmember Graham, back on slide 5. You can see that it was about 19 million. And I can get that breakdown for you if you want, fairly easily, but.
It doesn't need to be exact, but you had mentioned
Yeah.
3 funds had the majority of that,
Oh,
which was about
right.
15 or 16 million.
I know for sure it was about 6.6 million for airport. There was 3.2 million for sewer. Or, am I correct? And 2.2 million for water. Then the rest would be general government, roads, and the
And you said for those 3 funds, like right now, roughly, we're looking about $12 million. You said in the previous year, that number was about 8 million. Does that
right,
sound
you can
correct?
see the jump, especially in airport. For example, on slide 5, that has gone from, what, about 2 million to the 6.5. We have water has in 25 that was larger, but it went back down to 2.5. Then you can see the jump in water, sewer. Sewer was a larger investment in 26 than it was in 25. And in the past, due to, and we'll look at the revenues, the water and sewer fund did not have very large transfers. They were less than 800,000. Well, Councilmember Graham, you were there for most of it. You probably remember from the financials that, you know, they were 800,000, 500,000. They were never significant amounts, but again, as we got we received those reserves for the pandemic, that we have some needs as we go through the capital program. It's, again, our sewer plant has come to the end of its life currently. Without an expansion, we have to expand our water sources. We have probably $6 million or so right now in new water tanks and water sources in the budget. And we'll be definitely going through that as we go forward. Boy, Mayor, am I taking up way too much time?
Good.
So very quickly, just to go through, we will have 3 special revenue funds this year. And so you're going to sort of see dispatch, again, MATCOM here. But the main 2 ones then, we have youth court, which is a couple $100,000, but would be MATCOM and the Curtis Menard Center. So MATCOM, just again, as we go through it, when you look at the difference between revenues and expenditures, that is the amount that would be used of general fund revenue transfers now to cover all of our dispatch costs. So I'll point that out as we go through that, but I want what you're going to see for revenues right now are strictly the contracts that we get and then the expenditures that we have. But so the difference here is what is different in this table is the difference between our contract revenue to our partners, our total expenditures, and what the difference is. And as you can see, that difference is going up. And that's part of the reason that we are working with our partners right now. A lot of those contracts in the past have strictly been based on almost a cost inflationary index of 2 to 3%, not including looking at, every 2 years or whatever, what the base costs are that include salaries, which we all know are going up more than the 2.5% of inflation. Yes?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
so the difference then is really coming out of our operating budget.
Yes.
Okay, so that's
And
what-
it always has been.
Yep.
It's just now that if we move it over to a special revenue fund, you're going to truly see what that is. And to let you know, we've been looking at Kenai, the borough, and they also keep their E911 fund in a special revenue fund. And I assume that it's for the same reasons, to be able to really gauge how much the services are costing. And if we go to the next page, and that's something we're going to be looking on, that gap also does include our cost for dispatching for Wasilla. That hasn't been broken out, but as we analyze the cost, we'll be looking at that. For example, and Lori, please correct me if I'm wrong because I'm throwing out big numbers. We dispatch about, and Chief, you can throw something at me too, 37,000 for Wasilla Police, 55,000 for the state. I'm saying gross calls, not just 911. And then, was it 13 to 14,000 calls for the borough? Fire and EMS, and then we have a small number of calls. We transfer calls to Palmer. We dispatch for the city of Houston, and do we have one other?
We dispatch fire in the city of Palmer.
Two. So as we are negotiating with the Department of Public Safety, we've gone through a 2 to 3 year analysis, and we're working to adjust that analysis now based on our new salaries and going into this new budget. So the next one is the Curtis Menard Center. And, you know, I wanted to state that, again, the gap that we're going to see is really part of our recreation costs for providing parks and recreation facilities to the community, that by putting it over to a special revenue fund, it's making it much easier to see what those gaps are, where we're at, than in a enterprise fund based on the financial hoops that you have to jump through to show everything. But just to give you a quick thing on this one, and this is, I got the columns right here, Council. The first one's revenue increases and then expenditure increases. And again, showing that Scott is just starting on his budget too. And so we don't have any increases or growth to the FY '27 expenditures since we're just starting that budget right now. But again, what it shows is that gap has been filled by general fund transfers over the years.
Mr. Johnson?
So what is it that really took off between 24 and 25 as far as expenditures?
I would have to rely on Scott to give there was, I can say, $150,000 PERS adjustment in that period because of whatever agreement we had with PERS based on, was it an employee, Scott, or?
Yeah, a big component of that was we had added an FTE. We had brought in a part-time position into the union that had PERS, and I believe a bunch of it was utilities, but I don't have all the breakdown there, but we can get a little bit more on that.
But there was a PERS adjustment that was a significant amount due to the change of what PERS said one of the employees should be classified as. But again, that isn't the majority of that delta. But we did go up in services, and again, that's will be part of the budget process and explaining those jumps between 24 and 26. But then the next, jumping from there, the enterprise funds. And council, this is, again, came as a recommendation that we are bringing forward, is that through either increase in operational revenues or some type of operation subsidy, that we are going to need to do about a 20% cost increase this next coming year for the utilities pretty much across the board. I mean, as we go through, we can show you. We are, right now, the administration devoting a financial consultant and a company to be working with the Public Works on the utilities, but as we go through, again, we have not had a rate increase since FY '14, and as you'll see, I'm going to be showing the growth in revenue versus the CPI, and you'll see a significant delta between the two. Any questions?
So Ted,
Yes.
the 2014 increase that you're showing on slide 24 there,
For Scott, or for back to
no, for
CMSC?
the sewer, water sewer, just back up one slide.
No, that, if we, oh,
No, there, that one right there. It says hasn't been a rate increase since 2014.
Yes.
As I recall, that rate increase was factored across 4 years. So was 2014 the first year of that, or was that the last year of that?
The tail end of it. I believe it started in 2011, Eric, or 2009 to 2014. So that was the tail end, Councilmember Brown. So again, the FY '27 revenues would include that percent increase that would be needed to help change the delta. As you can see in the revenue increase, that's 20%. You're seeing the other expenditure increases that we did have significant increases in the cost of our sewer system, just based on, and Eric will be able to go through this as we go through the budget, on the age of the system, what we're replacing, and all those items. If you go to the next page, you can see for the sewer utility, over the big picture, is that probably in about middle of FY '24-25, we crossed that delta where our expenditures have been more than our revenue. And in the past couple years, the fund itself has absorbed those increases. As of '26, there's about 4.9 million unrestricted, of funds, but that's fund in the fund balance itself has been going down. All that we have to keep per code in there is 10% unrestricted net assets, but of course, that's not covering our depreciation, nor are these expenses shown here right now covering our depreciation. Yes, Councilmember Johnson.
Madam Mayor, so let's just go back then on that slide to 2023. So then the delta between the expenditures and the revenue, you're in the correct slide.
Now, this is CMSC again.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So the difference then in 2023, say, between the 1.6 million and the 1 million, that difference would mean then that was roughly about a 600,000 that went into the reserve, is that it?
Not for CMSC, because on the CMSC, the
No,
green.
he's on the sewer.
Oh, on sewer.
Yes.
Oh,
27.
sorry.
27,
27, I think.
yeah. So the excess there went into the reserve.
Right.
And then after that line crossed there, we're pulling money out of that reserve
Right.
in order to keep our systems working.
Yes.
So we're operating really at a
A deficit.
loss, but it's really subsidized by the general revenue.
It will have to be.
Yes.
And it is, I guess, if you want to look at it in '26, because the investments for sewer are not coming from the sewer fund, the majority. They're coming from general fund. And if you truly want to look at that, Councilmember Johnson, that's the challenge of budgets. In that fund balance, since we were talking earlier Monday, those funds that are pushing forward are actually should be, and I've talked to Jackie, our finance director, should be included as a reserved fund balance, because made a large percentage of, like, for example, in the water fund, we had a $9 million unrestricted net position. Well, probably 6 or 7 million of that is reserved for budgets going forward that don't show up on the financials.
Right.
Because they're not a restricted number. The auditors would look at that and say, the council could wave their wand and do away with all of those projects that haven't been committed by contractor encumbrance. So we're going to try to show more of that as we go forward, especially as we get into the capital program, like I said, where we are going to show, as a column with that 5-year plan, the current projects as of 3/31 and their sources, because a majority of the sources for even water and sewer still are old general fund transfers that are carrying forward. And it's just that, and it confuses me even when you're trying to look at the parts and pieces and get a good line. And one of the advantages of a firm that we're going to be using that Eric will probably talk about pretty soon is Waterworth is working with us, that they're taking all of our information into their system and will be assisting us with our projections and where we have to go into the future and where our expenses would lie.
So, may I ask a question?
You bet.
Once again, page 27, that if you could back up to 27.
Okay, oh, am I not on, oh, geez,
Yeah, you
I'm looking
hit the
at
button a
mine.
couple times. There we go.
Okay,
So you're saying there hasn't been a rate increase. So where is the increase in revenue coming from? From 1.8 million and
well,
estimated 26 to 2.1 million and estimated 27?
so we have to go from FY '26, Councilmember Graham, to the 1.6 to the 1.7. That's growth. The 1.7 to 2.19822 would be that 20% increase that we're recommending.
Okay, so that includes the increase.
That includes the increase, yes.
Right. So this,
That, which is approximately $300 and some thousand for sewer.
That'll go over like a lead balloon.
Madam Mayor,
Well, yep.
sorry, while we're still on this one here, and I'm not sure if anybody actually knows the answer. I mean, Stu might be able to shed some light on it. Back when we did the rate increase, was there a reason why a small step wasn't built into the rates over the years, so that every so many years or every year it goes up by a small amount to compensate, so we're not ending up in a boat like this?
Yes, Madam, or Councilmember Crafton, it did state that we were supposed to be analyzing it every year. And if you go back to the original legislation, it did not build it in, but it just said we will continue to analyze it as we go forward.
and if I may, Ted, the political climate at the time, there was substantial turmoil amongst the water and sewer users over the initial increase was 25%, and the council chose to stop it at 20% because there were building reserves at that time. But there was the appetite for continued looking at it to make sure that we didn't end up where we end up now, but that just never happened, so.
Thank you.
And I think the next picture, which will sort of show what we're all talking about. And again, I would, and maybe I guess I could do another graph for the council taking out the 20%. But as you look at that, if we didn't have the 20% increase, you'd be looking at that bar for 27 being about 20,000 more at the most. So as you can see, as Councilmember Graham said it much better than I said, is that, you know, based on the political climate and everything, that we did not build in to covering this gap that we have happened. And again, in all fairness, is that, and I believe it was 2024 or 25, we had that 8% hit in inflation too. Jackie, do you remember from our salary? 24. So we've had some significant, as you can see on the steep over the last 3 or 4 years, increase in inflation. And then there was one also in 20 to 21 during the pandemic. But it does show the challenge, and again, I have not, or, finance has not made a recommendation of what levers council would need to pull, because it could be a combination of rates, it could be some type of dedicated revenue source or operational subsidy. It's just that we believe that as you look at the gap of the previous page, that we have to do something in order to move forward. And again, I would state with that gap, it's still not covering depreciation. But the challenge with that, I can tell the council, is that we never thought we were ever going to cover depreciation, because most of our water and sewer infrastructure was funded by grants, by low-cost loans, and we were always getting that next good-sized grant that allowed us to move forward without increasing rates dramatically to cover infrastructure investment.
May I make one little comment here? I just want your opinion on this. Every time we connect something to our water and sewer, we lose more money. Is that correct?
Well, it depends on the mixture, and I'd have to go to Eric on this, of variable versus fixed costs too.
That's what our graph just said.
Right, but if you can grow without increasing your variable costs, then I, again, am not an expert on that, Councilmember Johnson.
Eric, you want to speak to it?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So, that's partially true, especially if the economic growth of whoever new is connecting doesn't match the resources we have to put into it. There is, with our step system, there is that deferred cost, the asset cost, where when a new facility is built, they have to load, they front load that cost with the septic tanks and pumps, for instance. But then 35 years, we'll be back to replace it at our cost. And so you can imagine 35 years of inflation for a new septic system. It's substantially more than they originally paid.
Madam Mayor, and if I can, Eric, while you've got the microphone there. So adding on a substantial user like the hotel, that's going in, how much of the infrastructure to support that hotel is coming from us, and how much are we having them put in? I mean, obviously we've got the water tank, the increased water and so on and so forth, but the in-ground sort of stuff, that's
all on them at this point.
All
so
on them.
we even back bill for the inspection of that infrastructure.
Okay.
That cost is borne by them in the beginning. But like you said, that hotel is a good example of that wasn't going to be allowed to be built by the fire marshal because of water supply concerns, pressure, that sort of thing. And then we'll receive that sewage, of course, and so that's, as Mr. Johnson said, that's a net negative from day one, basically, at the rates we charge. One of the other things, just on increase in revenue, so as we use more water, then we have more sewer. So as you're going to see the water side here, it's doing better, but the billing is all based on the water meter usage. So that's kind of what you see as growth means more water, which means more sewer.
I don't need to beat the dead horse.
Okay.
And this, I would apologize again to the council, is you want to see the numbers in a table. I put a page on your desk to actually see and there again, as what Eric is saying, water utility is brings in more revenue versus their expenditures than the sewer. Sewer is a much harder utility to manage, where water, you're bringing water up, then it goes down a pipe. And so we've had, a much better ratio of expenditure to revenue in water since I was here. That in the past, even in years, that some years it did cover its depreciation. But again, it's taking that slope going down. Oops, sorry.
Madam Mayor, sorry, if we could stay on that slide there for a second. 2 questions there. One, where's is that $400,000 the 20% rate increase again?
Yes.
Too, because we're talking water and sewer rate increase, okay. And then second question, I believe it's Crystal I've talked to about this before, about the business customers and the utilization. Was it sewer that we were running into where we were charging the same as residential, or is it water that we were charging the same as residential?
Great question. So our rate structure is embarrassingly simple. We don't have any different rates for commercial versus residential. The only difference is most residential homes don't meet the 5,000 gallon benchmark. So if you are, a single person, elderly person, and you use 1,000 gallons a month, you still pay that 5,000 gallon minimum. Whereas, of course, all the commercials are way above that. So we don't have, and that's one of the things we want to talk about with those levers that Ted is talking about, is we need to talk about kind of a more modern rate structure based on types of users.
And if I recall correctly, we have 2 different payment options. One, it's you pay 5,000, you get 5,000 gallons. If you go over, you pay per the 1,000, or you can pay based on per 1,000. Or do we go away with that? Do we
No,
not?
it's up to 5,000 is the same rate, and above that, it's a prorated amount based on your usage because our water meters are reliable.
Okay, thank you.
So again, just giving a graph of our water revenue versus CPI. And again, our number for FY27 would be approximately the same as our 26. We were projecting only about 20,000 more to 25,000 more in growth in either of the accounts, and that's been about what it's been in the financials too. So again, it's just that steep slope and of the CPI versus where our rates have been for the last 10 years.
Eric?
Ted, could you go back to the previous slide? One thing I want to draw the council's attention to is, and Mr. Johnson's been picking up on slopes, the orange line. So the water system is basically turning electricity into water. And so as we've seen rate increases with electricity, that's what we're seeing for the bulk of this increase. And so we haven't kept up with that, and it's costing more and more to pump the same amount of water. And then the water system's doing pretty good. The number of leaks that we have is really low when we compare ourselves to the national average. We do have some every year, but if you think about the vulnerabilities to the sewer system, you have a caustic liquid in the sewer system that tries to break and destroy and corrode everything, and then we've got these pumps that are extremely expensive and they're labor intensive. What water tries to do is get as close to matching the amount of water we produce out of our wells to the amount of water that we sell. So we're always looking for leaks because those are a loss to us. But for the most part, it is pretty reliable. Our system is pretty resilient, even though I get concerned with the age of some of the systems. If we think about resiliency compared to sewer, the water is much more stable, and so that's why you see water being more. It has been more constant than sewer for rate studies.
And again, was that we just were discussing the US CPI urban versus our revenue. And one thing, if I could jump back all the way, council, to 5 again, slide 5. And this is where I'm going to put on my ode Ada hat. The thing that we have to realize too, is we make these investments in infrastructure, that construction investment is actually a investment in our community because of as you talk about the multiplier effect of construction going on in your community. If we're putting in 19 million, then we're getting monies from the federal government, the state, that construction in my day, and we were talking to Crystal, is about 3 to 4 times, the multiplier is 3 to 4 times the monies that you're putting out in construction. I just wanted to say that, you know, there is a true benefit to our citizens of the investments that the city is making, utilizing that capital reserves as investments for our infrastructure. The last ones, and I bet you're glad we're getting towards the end, is our airport. Again, we're asking Crystal and Eric and the team to be seeing how we can increase that revenue too. That as we can see, you know, the expenditures have been normally around 150 to 250,000. I can say from day one when I was here, the airport has never covered their operational expenditures. And I don't know if there's been a year since I've left where there has been, but they've never covered operations, let alone covered depreciation. And I know that we're looking at economic expansion, looking at how we do leases out at the airport and how we can increase that revenue. And
If I may, Ted, I can't think of a single airport in the state that covers its operational expenses. I mean,
Country.
Yeah, and that may be true, but I'm
And that
much
could
more
be
familiar with the
true.
state. So the question is, you know, I mean, what level of expenses do we want to cover?
Then,
Not
true.
do we want to cover the expenses,
Right.
what level do we want to cover? Much like the Menard Center, there's no, you know, facility like that in the state that I'm aware of that makes money. I mean,
And
it
all we-
exists for the benefit of the community.
You bet. And I agree 100%, Councilmember Graham. I guess what we're asking is if there's a way that we can start to narrow that gap. And again, we are looking at having an expert, and Crystal could speak to this regarding, you know, how much those gaps should be or would be, and going forward.
Madam Mayor, I'll put my sales hat on for just 2 minutes. One Cessna 72 will cost you about 170,000. We have probably 50 at our airport. They are bringing in revenue from high-paying people, buy gas and everything else. So it really generates revenue, but it's going to be really hard for us to quantify it.
And Councilmember Johnson, you could say the same thing for example, the Menard Center. We did a study, years and years ago, and it was like $200,000 or $300,000 that was being brought in, generated from sales tax for the same type that all the kids find out pizza, so I couldn't order pizza for a weekend, you know, those type of things, and filling up the rental places. So yes, one of the things I would say, and looking at Scott and the team there, is they are an economic engine for the city of Wasilla on the general fund side. And that's the same thing for airport. You have to look at, as you make those transfers to cover the gap, what is that utility, and you can say the same with water and sewer, that without the infrastructure and investment that the city has made, we would not have maybe the Walmart or the Fred Meyer's if we didn't have the infrastructure that brought those generating sales tax.
A quick question to the mayor, you'll know the answer to this. The sales tax exemption, is that including gasoline? Okay, so,
Yeah.
Is it?
No, exemption, total exemption.
no, I
No,
mean,
the
is
cap,
there,
there's a cap on it, but
Right.
we
Yeah,
tax,
it's
we
$12.50
tax gasoline.
is the highest anybody's gonna pay on anything.
okay, so every time somebody fills up their airplane at $300 or $400, we get sales tax.
They pay
Yes.
$12.50.
Yeah.
We're paying for ourselves easily.
And just the same type of thing, our revenue, and again, like Councilmember Johnson stated, that, you know, our revenue's been fairly flat, and the CPI and the cost of doing business or providing that airport service is going up based on CPI. And Mayor, that's all I have.
Okay,
And one last thing,
Thank you.
Council. Mayor, could I say one thing?
one thing.
One last selling point. We did pass to Jamie a document for the council. Did you not see the email? Did I not get it to you? Well,
But we will.
we will, but it's just a document that we're utilizing as we build the budget, and one's sort of what I believe the 10 Commandments of budgeting are now. It does discuss priority-based budgeting and how it's utilized in cities as we go with limited resources. And then just a, for your knowledge, a GFOA, good article, I thought, and it was stating how you have to rethink budgeting in today's environment. It's not, the old fashioned budgeting is you have this many resources and you allocate. I'm done, Council.
Mr. Johnson.
5 minutes.
Oh, you want a
Oh.
5-minute break?
Oh my God.
Okay, 7:22.
Yeah.
And we'll be back at 7:27.
Old man.
Don't run off, Ted, because I've got a question when you come back.
Oh, okay. have a
Oh, yeah.
major viewpoint that I steal every good idea I see from someone else.
We are back on the record at 7:29. Turn your mic on, Ted.
Mayor, I would like to say one thing, since I did mention the Menards Center, that of course our library is a valuable economic engine for us. They bring in a lot of sales tax through people coming in. And again, also our police force and public works, because without that police department, we wouldn't have the box stores either that we have. So it's a very unique combined environment that where we're providing services to the whole borough and using our resources for that. So
So
Mr.
Ted,
Graham.
the gas line, which is, you know, nearing the point of starting construction, the forecast that I've seen say the Matsu Borough can expect between 4,000 and 8,000 additional residents, you know, coming into the borough. And obviously, given the greater Wasilla economic area, you could probably say, you know, 60 to 75% of those would be in that area and would be using city services and paying revenue into the city. Is there a factor anywhere where you can say for each 100 people in that area, this is kind of the revenue that could be expected, or?
Councilmember Graham, that is one of the questions we are asking with McKinley Research, as what I envision or would love to see, and as we work with the experts, is a model that would have to include population, right? Because every person back in the day when we were arguing against a sales tax statewide or whatever, you know, it was like 30 to 35,000 per family of sales tax back in that day, that of income that would be of their income that would be generating sales tax. So yes, there is definitely a factor, and again, these jobs would be high-paying jobs. And again, as we're looking at other things on resource development, I even state if, for example, in West Susitna, you know, those mines come up online, and the same for whatever mine is up at Hatcher Pass, or, you know, 100, 200 of high-paying mining jobs would provide, like you said, the same thing. 100 of those jobs making 100,000 a year or 150,000 a year will increase definitely our revenue sources and the economic, of course, just value of having those people in our valley would have on the economy of the valley overall.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor?
Mr. Crafton.
Thank you. And going off of kind of what Mr. Graham was talking about, is there a way, because in the past, and I think the mayor and I have talked about this, is you have some people, residential areas, that say we want to be annexed into the city. We go, well, you got to keep in mind that it's a cost to the city. In the past, there was no revenue that it would be created. With the remote seller sales tax, it actually changes that factor, because now those people, everything that they buy online would now be taxed.
Yes.
Is there a way to ever look at that type of thing, kind of like what Mr. Graham was saying, for the population basis, we can estimate X amount of dollars would be increased? I mean, is that possible to look at something like that?
They could, yes. I believe that they would have the data. The value of using someone like who we're using, McKinley Research, is that they have ability to go out and reach into the lower 48, even as they're doing analysis, to see how it has affected other places too. It's just, they can take a much broader look at the whole issue and have those type of factors in of how much does 100 people increase your sales tax base and those type of things. For remote sales tax, they have all our information. We'll have, since they sign a confidentiality section in their contract, we'll be able to look at more granular detail that could show that.
Something like that. And it'd be interesting to see if it's possible, if there's a tipping point of the acquisition of a new resident becomes greater, or the acquisition is less than the amount that we would generate. Interesting.
Okay,
In service.
that's a different conversation. That's
Oh,
revenue generation, and we will have to have that conversation somewhere, as well as annexation, but I didn't say that. Anyway, is there a motion to exit committee of the whole?
Madam Mayor, are we gonna do,
That's a committee of the whole on budget development and then move into budget goals and priorities.
Right.
Okay.
So we need a motion to exit.
Madam Mayor, I move that we exit committee of the whole.
Cottle seconds.
It's been moved by Councilmember Crafton, seconded by Councilmember Cottle to exit committee of the whole. Is there any objection? Hearing none, the motion is adopted. The time is 7:35. Madam Clerk.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Next item of business is IM number 2604, fiscal year 2027, budget goals and priorities, and this too will be done in committee of the whole.
Is there a motion to enter committee of the whole?
Madam Mayor, I move that we enter committee of the whole for the goals and priorities discussion.
Is there a second?
Second, Councilman Johnson.
It's been moved by Councilmember Crafton and seconded by Councilmember Johnson to enter the committee of the whole. Is there objection to the motion? Hearing none, we are now in committee of the whole. The time is 7:36 p.m.
Yeah, you should have.
You're on Who's gonna lead them?
Here, you want mine? Can we take just a brief at ease?
We're at ease.
I screwed up. My problem. Sorry.
It's okay.
Mayor, you wanna turn off your mic?
I'm gonna make it.
Jimmy, make one for me.
What?
Do I have this on? Give a sort of an introduction, and Crystal will be taking over. What we have provided to the council is an information memorandum that states what we had last year and what we've accomplished. And then we'll be going into the actual list of the new goals and priorities that administration is recommending to the council. And we have our whole executive and departmental team here. 38 minutes will be a challenge, but that is, the council has questions that they can directly speak to the priorities and any information that you need. So as we go forward, I understand, Jamie, we would be passing it at the next meeting, or is this being an AM being passed this meeting?
No. This is, if I may, Madam Mayor, through the chair to the council, as we've done in past years, the intent is for you guys to pretty much hash them out. Consensus of council, Deputy Administrator, I believe they're coming back to council. Next regular meeting will be in resolution form instead of AM. And really the intent at that time is to pretty much to ratify what you're doing tonight, to adopt them as is without a whole lot of amendment. If there's some minor, something we didn't catch, that's fine, but that's what we've done in the past at least.
And to the council again, this again, for us, will be the roadmap as we move forward. The goals and what priorities you set will be built into our budget, and we'll come back with that as part of our departmental presentations of how we're going to meet the requirements, the initiatives set by the council. And plus, this does give what right now administration believes and the department heads feedback of what they believe are the important initiatives in this upcoming year. It's all very crucial if we're rethinking budgeting and not just allocating resources. That we're looking at what services the council believes we need to be providing to our citizens, at what level, and what type of investments that we need to be making, because that all goes into what we call priority-based budgeting when you have limited resources. So I would pass it on to Crystal, and we're all here available for discussion and engagement with the council.
Madam Mayor, may I? Also, if I may introduce and thank Ashley Lawyer from our Public Works Department for being here. She's assisting Crystal Nygaard, and so she's going to do the track changes live on the TV screen. So as you work through some of the language, thank you, Ashley, for being here.
Okay, thank you, Mary. Mayor, we want this to be very engaging. There's no right or wrong way to do it, other than to just make sure we're all on the same page. We met with the staff this last week and showed the importance of this is a roadmap that should align with their budget. If we miss something, we'll add it. If you don't like something, we'll delete it. So what we thought we'd do is just go in blocks. If there's something within a block that you want changed, instead of reading each one, we can do it that way, or we can read each line and then make the corrections. What do you prefer?
Start with the number in 2026. Is there any changes?
And is that on,
I need to
that's on
change.
page
That's on
6 of the
page-
packet?
The first one, quality of life, providing citizens with high-quality services, effectively ensuring a safe and thriving community.
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Crafton?
thank you. Number one here, complete 2024 comprehensive plan to preserve and clean up lakes and waterways. What are we looking to pull out of that that would be in direct correlation to cleanup of lakes and waterways within the city?
So that particular initiative is part of the comp plan, and it is within the comp plan.
I think, Madam Mayor, if I may, I'm sorry. I think we need all get on the same page here.
Yeah.
The one I have up is goal 1 is complete the 2045 comp plan to preserve and clean
Yeah.
up lakes and
I-
roadways.
What you guys have on the screen is different from what I
It's
have in my
page
Than what
packet.
we have.
3 in the packet?
Page 2, well, two of the documents, 6 of the packet.
Is that, yeah.
That's fiscal year 26 that you have up there.
She just said that.
Oh, oh, yes, we're all the way back on page 10 to 13.
We have a brief Eddie's.
Oh, so you're here. This was last.
Okay, thank you for being flexible. Okay, goal number 1, quality of life. So we have 3, you'll notice the
Oh, sorry, we're back on record at 7:49. Sorry, Krista.
Thank you, Mayor. You'll notice there's a trend in this year's update, and that is we've completed, or we're in the process of completing a lot of things that we set out to do. So we have 1, 2, and 3, complete the 2045 comp plan to preserve and clean up of lakes and waterways within the city. 2, complete the Parks and Rec comp plan to optimize the use of the city's parks, museum, and library to foster culture and recreational programs and events. And then complete the feasibility study for the Menard Center. Is there any changes, additions, questions?
Going back to my question there, I'm curious how completing the comprehensive plan directly correlates to the preservation and cleanup of lakes and waterways.
There's a chapter in the comp plan specific to parks, waterways, and lakes. So, and that's the setbacks and the use of land by the water. And it also is what is it, Lucio Lake Management Plan? Yeah. And that's part of our comp plan. And I can give you the exact section if you want.
So shouldn't an overarching thing be much like it was last year, complete the comp plan?
Yeah.
And then these are things within it. I mean, I don't see anything in here that says complete the comp plan. It says complete this, part that talks about cleanup of lakes and waterways, talk about parks and museum, talk about Menard Center. I mean, I'm missing the umbrella that all this falls under.
And this was one of the initiatives last year that I carried forward, but we could change that to just complete the comp plan.
So, through the chair, so I just recently, Councilmember Crafton, this was kind of something I was working on with you. I went to the 24 comp plan website, and that says we were to complete the comp plan this winter. So that must have changed, because this will go into effect July 1.
Correct. In fact, we just talked to the contractor today, and we're on schedule to have that complete the last quarter of this year. Yeah, of this year.
So if we're on track to have it completed before the beginning of the next fiscal year, why are we saying these are goals for the next fiscal year
It
if
won't
it's already gonna be completed?
It won't be
It'll
done
be
June
December.
30th. It won't be done until this fall,
So
and then probably adopted the first
calendar year
quarter of
versus
27.
fiscal year.
Correct. Correct. Okay, on to goal 2 is, this is again, another one we had last year, communication, engagement, and customer service. Enhance customer reach to improve engagement, build trust, and foster cohesion. Any additions, subtractions to any of these? There's 6 underneath this goal.
Through the chair, I'm just gonna ask, did council want to, because I got lost, did you want, on that goal 1, number 1, do you want just complete 2045 comp plan? Do you want to strike to preserve and clean up, or do you want to leave that?
I feel better if we, strike from where it says to preserve and clean up. Cause if that's already part of the comp plan, then if we complete the comp plan, that's a given.
We see that in almost every goal is complete the comp plan for that particular section.
So if we're completing the comp plan, we're completing the comp plan, which would be the whole comp plan, or are we saying we're gonna complete one section at a time? To me, this is a bit murky.
Yeah, we're gonna complete the entire comp plan. It touches several goals.
And if that's the case, I would think that we would want to strike to preserve and clean up.
Okay,
So maybe, I'm sorry, Madam Mayor? Maybe it would be to add goal number 1, complete the comp plan. Goal number 2 would be complete the comp plan with respect to cleanup of parks, waterways within the city.
Look at number 1 under goal 2.
Well, I see where Mr. Johnson's going here. But I mean, in the comp plan, there's a lot of things that are gonna be packed into that. I agree with Mr. Graham, we do need to remove everything from after to preserve. Like, that to me is a little confusing. The question really is, do we enshrine that portion because we're saying, hey, in the comp plan, there's discussion about preserving and cleaning up lakes and waterways within the city. Is that a hyper focus of the city in fiscal year 2027 that we are going to work on doing that? I mean, part of the issue is that, I mean, if this is getting completed in the fall, winter's hitting at that point. By the time we can wrap around this, to me, the preservation, cleanup and all that is gonna happen in fiscal year 28 at that point, because that's when we're gonna be looking at more summer months to do that. I would probably say just get rid of it entirely, and that's something we discuss next year at that point.
Madam Mayor, then you might as well get rid of point 2 as well.
I wouldn't say get rid of it because it's something different. We have a completely different plan that is in regards specifically to, the comprehensive plan is the entire city, and then we have multiple, what we refer to as comprehensive plans. We have a water, a sewer, a parks and rec, and then, I mean, technically there's a roads one that also is needing to be done soon. So that one's specifically saying we're gonna complete the parks and rec one in regards to the things that fall under that. So I mean, I see where there's specific things, and also keep in mind, this is not just for us, it's for the community, so the community can look at this and go, oh yeah, they're gonna complete the Parks and Rec document, comprehensive plan, and it's gonna include these things, and they're gonna focus on these things. Same with the feasibility study, it kind of tells them why we're doing it in regards to those plans. But the comprehensive plan, like Mr. Graham's saying, it's too high level view.
Mr. Graham?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So, we're talking about the public being able to read and understand this. The comprehensive plan is required by the state, correct? We're required by the state to have a comprehensive plan. Maybe we should change the names of these other plans to delete the word comprehensive and find something else.
I thought they were called master plans. It's the first time
They
I'm
were
seeing them
last
called,
time.
that's what they've been called. And then I know Eric mentioned something, I think it was the last meeting, you're like, hey, we're calling them comprehensive plans now, which I somewhat understand, but I agree with Mr. Graham, like, it does get confusing.
Through the chair, for what it's worth, I mean, the comprehensive, in other municipalities, it's kind of nomenclature. The comprehensive plan is the planning document, the overall planning document. Typically, master plans are the other planning documents. Not to say comprehensive plan is wrong, but I could definitely see where it might get a little bit confusing. That's at least my experience.
And honestly, it should be the other way around, where it's the 2045 master plan that almost to me, that's what it makes more sense than the other way around. But we'll leave it as is. Not to the state, I understand that. I'm just saying that.
So we can just do.
But I feel like we need to go back to master plan on the other ones, is what I think.
The comprehensive plan covers everything.
Oh, I get that.
And,
To me.
but the water comprehensive plan only covers water.
So it's the master plan.
It's the master plan, so, yeah.
So we'll
6-1,
just
half dozen
remove
the other.
comprehensive and put master. Any questions about the feasibility study for Menard Center?
So why doesn't number 3 just say complete the feasibility study? We're already saying in number 2, we're gonna, look at fostering cultural and recreational programs and events. Why doesn't number 3 just say complete a feasibility study to identify future needs and potential growth or expansion opportunities for the Menard Sports Center, period?
Number 2 is recreational services, and 3 is the Menard Center.
Stu, did you say everything after Menard Center, basically period after Menard Sports Center, you said, right?
Just, if you start with the word improving in the 4th sentence and delete improving and everything thereafter.
That makes sense.
Madam Mayor?
Oh, Mr. Johnson.
I'm still a little bit foggy, so let's go with number one. So, complete 2045 comprehensive plan, period. Okay, right now we're contracted that out, that contract will come, it'll be a little bit reviewed here in the thing, it'll be presented to us and the councilmen, we will vote it in, we will put it on the table, and there it is, it's completed. Okay, but whoopee, that didn't really change anything, because what it really needs is we have to complete it, and then the administration has to actually look at it and implement the various parts of it that each particular department needs to implement. We can approve the comp plan as a council, that isn't gonna change anything. Until we say, okay, I need that comp plan implemented within Parks and Recreation or utilities or whatever, or zoning or whatever that comp plan really, that's the real rubber on the road there.
Madam Mayor?
Mr. Crafton.
Thank you, Mayor. I actually had the same thought when we were talking about striking it. And I think part of the issue we run into is we don't necessarily know, we have, to an extent, we understand what it contains, but there's not really a way to implement it until it's been approved, and then we don't necessarily know what we want to focus on. There's parts of it that we're going to go, wow, we really want to focus on this right now, this year. And I think there's not much we can do beyond that. And also, by the time it's done, we're going to be doing goals and initiatives for 2028 at that point as well. So, we'll be having a discussion at that point going forward. But I also believe we're going to be doing this process differently next year, if I remember correctly as well.
Jamie.
Through the chair to the council. So under Alaska statute, a comp plan is a planning document. It's a long-range city-adopted guide that directs future land use development and growth over roughly 20 years. So it's a planning document.
And given the fact that it's a planning document, it's not something we're saying has to be executed. I mean, if we look
No.
at the 2010 was the last time we did a comp plan?
Yes.
I mean,
Was it 11?
yeah, I mean, it's a planning document where when we bring something forward to the council, we can say this is in accordance with the comp plan, or this is, in opposition to the comp plan, so everybody understands that what's going on. Because what we think is good for the city in 5 years from now, and none of us might be here in 5 years from now, so who knows, But I mean, it's just, having the plan is the important thing.
Okay.
So are we striking everything from after the word plan? Is that what we understood?
Yep.
Number
Okay.
one.
Yep, for number one, okay.
Okay, goal number 2 on the first one was really a cleanup. There was quite a few plans that were put in there. We just tightened that up a little bit. We did put in an example that Ted has shown us about what Sitka did for a 5-year strategic plan that I think would be really vital going forward in the next year of being very intentional about where the resources are gonna go.
Madam Mayor, and that strategic plan, that was what we discussed, I want to say at the last budget. It was in the budget and the council was like, we don't want to spend the money on this right now because we needed the comp plan for it.
Correct.
But now, and that's what I just mentioned, going forward, this process is going to change because it's going to be a strategic plan at that point now that we have an updated comp plan. So I like
Correct.
that. Thank you.
Number 2 is the.
If I could
yeah.
comment on this one, allocate funding for a 5-year strategic plan based on the completed comp plan. Well, that's, the way the budget cycle works, that's probably not gonna happen because we won't have had time to interpret the comp plan sufficiently to say, well, over the next 5 years, this is where we need to go. I agree that there ought to be a 5-year strategic plan, but I'm not sure we're gonna be ready to do that when they hand us the comp plan in January, and then we start budgeting in April, or March, or whatever. I don't know, I'm not sure that we're gonna be ready to do that. You know, so the allocate funding part kind of ties our hands to say we're gonna do that this year, where I don't think that's appropriate.
I read this entirely different. This is allocate funding for a 5-year strategic plan, but the plan's gonna be based on the comprehensive plan. To me, the allocated funding is, we're saying we are going to do a strategic plan. We're gonna pay to do a strategic plan. That's what it says to me.
And I don't disagree with that. I'm just not sure that we're gonna be ready as a council to say, this is what we want this, where we want the strategic plan to go. Because the strategic plan is a 5-year plan, the comp plan essentially is a 10-year plan, but could be, 20, 40 years out. I don't know, I just don't see that we're gonna have had the time allocated to going through the comp plan, which we didn't generate, which is gonna be generated by a contractor, and then we're gonna go through it and approve it. So our understanding isn't, I don't think is gonna put us in a position where we can say, over the next 5 years, this is what we need to do.
Through the chair, I think perhaps, if I may, I think the timing maybe is not quite there if you're not getting the comp plan until next fall. And then remember, then we have Christmas and then we immediately move into budgeting. I think what you're trying to say is in the fiscal year, we're planning 27. There may not be time to do the comp plan, is what I'm hearing you say. So it may be more appropriate as you develop goals for 28, because the comp plan will have been done, you'll have adopted it. That's the time, then you'll execute that strategic plan July 1 of 27, I believe, which is fiscal year 28. I think that's what your point you're making.
Correct, thank you.
So do you want to delete the sentence, allocate funding for a 5-year strategic plan?
I guess my question is, when do we get the comp plan?
Well, the contractor so we met with Dow today and they said that they are going to bring it forward in the fall. And then, of course, it needs to be reviewed. So I would say 2027.
So it would be 2027.
Took
So
us 2 years to do Title 16. I mean, now we're looking at a 10-year plan that we're gonna get done in a couple of meetings. I just don't see it working. So I would think that I would agree with what you said would be just to delete what Ashley is in gray up there.
because from what I'm understanding at that point, we would do this one more time, because the strategic plan is essentially set to kind of replace this process. I see one head shaking yes and Ted saying no. 'Cause that's the conversation I remember, was that we were basically gonna move, the strategic plan kind of does somewhat of this. And what Stu's saying is that basically a year from now is when we're gonna be having hands-on ready to approve it, supposedly, which is gonna say we're not gonna have time to have a strategic plan prepared for fiscal year 2028.
Ted?
To the council, and I think it's all that interpretation is that you're saying in FY 27, during that year sometime, that you would be looking at allocating monies to do a strategic plan into the future. But, based on what Councilmember Graham's concern is, that is really something the council could say, that's what we want the new mayor, the new administration to do in 28. So, I mean, it's truly up to, this is more a guidance type of thing for the new administration coming in is that in 27, we want to look at allocating funds in 28 or through the budget process for a strategic plan. But again, if the council's not ready to make that, direction to a new administration coming in and wants to wait till 28, there's no issue with doing it that way.
The other part too is all we're doing is allocating it. At the end of the day, the administration is still gonna come to us with an amendment or an ordinance saying, hey, we're ready to spend the funds, and the council could just go, we're not ready to spend the money today, the comp plan got delayed. So I mean, I kind of feel like maybe we do just leave it, and then if we're not ready to spend the money, we're not ready to spend the money at the time, but at least we're setting the money aside at that point. I'm for leaving it for that.
Somebody make a decision. You want to strike it or keep it?
I would move to strike it.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to keep it.
Okay, all that wants to keep it, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3. All that want to strike it, raise your hand.
Can I ask a question first?
Yes.
So just here on Monday night, we are clarifying that we're trying to be transparent, right? And so not setting aside money for the sewers, not setting aside money for the roads, not setting aside for these projects. This is allocating funding. We are setting money aside, so to speak, in a pot, not really taking it, but in a pot. So it's not very transparent or clean in the sense of that might not be the goal at the time. What if we get the comp plan and it takes till, let's just say July 1st. Now you're on to 2028. So we didn't allocate it in 2027. So that's a goal that's not smart, right? Think about that. I vote to strike it.
Okay, revote.
I don't revote,
No.
that's the mayor.
Madam Mayor, I mean, that's kind of the point I brought up is we're not sure when we're gonna be ready. But if we're ready sooner than we think we are, then the money's not there. Versus if we set the money aside, I mean, again, a lot of the budget is, that's the entire concept of the budget, is we're not spending the money at the time. All we're doing is saying, hey, this is the plan for the coming year. And there are times where we don't get to things, which is what happened on Monday, where we said, hey, this project's getting pushed off. This is happening to this one. So, I mean, to me, it makes sense to have the money set aside for our plan. And then if we get to it, great, which is the goal. Like, our goal is to get to it, but we all understand that at the end of the day, we could not. Things could get delayed. That's the biggest thing.
Madam Mayor, the plan for the comp plan, we were supposed to have that when? If things do get delayed,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
it's not private sector here.
We don't have to plan for the delay.
Take a vote.
Okay, vote again. All in favor of keeping it? Same vote. So 3-2. So we keep it.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. It's already 8:13. 9 o'clock, we're out of here.
You said we were done 21 minutes ago.
No, it's our goal. We delayed it.
Okay, number 2 is to complete the ERP, and that will keep doing a lot of digital solutions for payments and maps and permitting. That was in the last year's goal as well. And the real change here is that to prioritize the services and implement them cost effectively. So we want to make sure that, sales tax is in the front of the train, permitting's in the front of the train, so we can implement those in the most cost-effective way we can. And we are learning as we're going through the ERP process that, you know, there are, as Cohill is guiding us through this, there's definitely a timing component and how we implement them and to do it within our budget. Do you want to say anything more?
I'm on. That also includes, as we're looking at the capital program, because right now, Tyler, and as we spoke about this earlier, utility programming wasn't supposed to come online until 2028. And we are asking and will be asking to look in the capital program to move that up to actually 2027. So we would like to move forward with utility due to the fact that as we are working with Public Works and Eric, they're stating that they can't really make valid, good investment decisions based off the current system that we have. So two parts or components that we were not planning to implement or finance until 28 was the permitting and was utilities. And now, based on both sales tax planning, that they want to move up the permitting into 27 and also utilities.
And just to add to that, there's also the physical server that we have to keep running too. So Steve's very concerned about the AS400. It lives, everything lives on that, and so that's another year that we'd have to hope that nothing happens with that. So get happy, Steve.
When I look at this goal, number 2, whatever it is there, the only thing that concerns me there is in the third line where it says platforms that use data-driven decisions to boost efficiency. I would think that use is probably the wrong word there. You know, that platforms that provide for data-driven decisions. Because these things are not going to be making decisions. They're going to be providing alternatives so that, you know, managers, the administration, city council can make data-driven decisions, I just disagree with the word used there.
That makes a lot of sense, Council. Because the whole,
Provide for.
if I could just say something, the whole vision next year, by the time we implement this, is that council will have a portal too that they could go in and look at, you know, scorecards, those wheels and that.
Right.
So it is providing a platform for providing information for decision makers. You're exactly correct.
Sorry, Ted, did you just say we will have access to a portal?
Yep.
It's the first time I heard of that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and one of these days,
It's not a
Cohill
time
can
machine.
show you that, you know, it's amazing these hubs that Tyler can provide. And I'm going to put in a special plug. The same thing if we go to a digitized budgeting system, that they have a transparency module that allows citizens and the council, for example, to go in and look at tracking the capital projects that we have, you know, and also expenditures through that too. So there would be a lot more based on Tyler and moving forward in these automated decision making that provide the decision-making information through digitally that the council would be seeing instead of, like, for example, last Monday, the expenditure report. You can have that at a touch of your mouse.
This should be a yes or no question. Madam Mayor?
Huh?
So does the enterprise resource system then, in terms of enhanced data, does it give you cost performance indexes and schedule performance, CPIs, SPIs that I'm used to seeing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, moving on.
Okay, number three, as you're fully aware of, we did a new website last year, and we're still trying to centralize the communication that is put on the website to keep it consistent and make sure that it's easy and accurate information, and that's just an internal commitment that we are holding to the council to keep that information updated. We kind of cleaned that up from last year. Any changes there, Stu?
So I have no idea what easy information is. We're ensuring residents, businesses, and employees have easy and accurate information. Are we easy access to information, to accurate information? What are we talking about there? Because in the first line, it says, organize communication channels on the new website. I'm assuming there's a word missing there that says to ensure consistent messaging and branding. And then wouldn't it have the same thing, have easy access?
Strike easy and.
Have, I can work with that. I'm all for easy, but I'd like to know what it means.
You're not easy.
Any other,
Big red button.
any
Okay,
other
number
comments
four.
on
Easy
three?
button.
So 4 is regularly review and update city code of ordinances and department policies to remove the outdated language, adopt best practices. And that really comes down to, get rid of the fax machines and some of the other policies we still have. And really streamline the process so we understand that we're in compliance. And this is just something that all the departments are working on. They're looking at their department policies and seeing if they're updated and up to date.
Okay, Jamie wants to back up.
Just wordsmithing number 3, Councilmember Green. We certainly don't put out inaccurate information.
Yeah.
So have
what-
access to accurate information.
Or just to information.
Just the information.
Yeah.
Yeah, take out accurate too. I forgot that.
be wrong. Be delayed.
We don't put out inaccurate.
I almost feel like it would be accessible information or easy access to, I mean, I see where the easy access is coming from, where it's maybe information isn't always easy to find. And so what we're trying to say is that we're gonna make sure it's easier for our residents, businesses, employees to have access to information. That's what we're trying to get at there, I assume.
Those are easy to find now.
Instead of easy and accurate information, change it to easy access to information.
Yes. Yeah, that's where I would think easy access to information. Jamie's over here really putting work into that eraser.
Okay, number 4. Crystal's already read that. Is there any changes to that?
Madam Mayor, just a point of question. Is this then the phase 2 of Title 16? Is that what we're trying to say at this point?
No, we're trying to say all of it, because the code book come over on the Mayflower.
Okay.
Madam Mayor,
Uh-huh.
I feel like this should be a little bit more directed as to what the plan is for that year. I mean, if it's gonna be that vague, it's almost not necessary, because that's just part of our job. That's just what we do, is we regularly review and update the city code of ordinances. Like, I mean, that's just a given. I feel like if we're gonna put something in here, let's say what the plan is that coming year. So in this case, it's fiscal year 2027. My guess is the review we're gonna be doing is a Title 16 Phase 2 review. And if there's something else that the administration had in mind in here, I mean, I'd love to add that as well. But I'd like this to be a little bit more directed.
I think the way it's written actually gives the administration, I hate to call it a hammer, but gives the administration and each of the department heads, it says, hey, I expect you to know the code, And I expect you to follow the code, and if you're not able to follow the code and you don't understand the code, I expect you to lead the charge to change it. That's what this
That's what this
says
is
to me.
about.
I see where you're going. I feel like we could still add the Title 16 Phase 2, so it says something specific about that one. That's a goal this year, is to complete Phase 2 of Title 16.
Just to start it.
Well, we've,
Well, another example would be, HR's been working, to
Title III.
Title III, review Title III and bring that in compliance and make sure that, it is updated. And so as we work on these different internal codes, we'll bring them to you, but it is very general because each of the departments have their specific code they're looking at.
I like it.
Okay. Number 5.
And this complements, when you have a change in code, you want to have some internal policies and procedures that are, that align with the needs. So like Title 16, you can change a code, but then you've got to have policies to make that work.
Number 6.
Excuse me, Madam Mayor. I mean, if we have a change to code, it's part of the job to then update your policies, and I don't see that we really need that as a goal. It's part of everybody's job sitting in this room, ourselves included.
Madam Mayor, I think this one actually goes back to like the credit card travel and the per diem policy that we just changed. So, I mean, it makes sense here, is it's a reminder to the staff that says, hey, we've updated the code. What policies are tied to this that now need to be corrected? I mean, again, it's a twofold thing going back to it.
Jamie?
The chair to the council, would the council consider, city needs, do you want, if you're tying it to code that align with the municipal code?
Yeah.
Bring it home.
Align with the Wasilla Municipal Code.
Okay.
And
Number 6.
the last one really is something that we discussed that's in the Sitka and some other cities around the state have talked about, having a clear communication and engagement plan. And all the departments have struggled with this. How do you get the community to get excited about an election, or get excited about a comp plan, or get excited about how you're going to hire people? And there's really some science behind it, as well as some art, and how you get that message out. And we just have kind of just struggled with that. So we're going to explore what are the options to, what has worked for other communities, and see if we can emulate that. Because communication is something, we have so many channels. What's going to be effective for us? And we should all be on the same page. Number 3, because I know we're short on time. Any changes to 3? This is really Ted's chapter. And Jackie's chapter. Fiscal sustainability, support financial policies which focus on responsibility to foster a viable community. First one is develop and implement a rate schedule for each department. Some of these departments haven't been updated for 10 years or more. And so that's something that Jackie, I think Finance originally had started. Yes. And we need to pick it back up. A lot of cities, if you go to them, they'll just put on their webpage what all their rates are. And they shouldn't have to call us to see what it costs to get a business license or CUP. And so we wanted to do a unified rate schedule for each department and make that open and visible for the community. Number 2, Ted talked about conducting a sales tax analysis to evaluate, what are the levers you can pull. Any changes in 1 or 2? Number 3, explore revenue diversification, and that's really looking at the contracts that we currently have and the partnerships that we have, and say, what is the revenue that we might not be securing or negotiating. So if a contract has a 1-year revenue, but we have a 3-year commitment to the expenses for it, we need to figure out a way to bring those together. Any other Ted, anything else?
I would prefer the word enhancement over diversification.
Okay.
Because it sounds like what you're wanting to do is to maximize revenue, which doesn't necessarily mean diversify. Diversify usually means kind of keep your market share, or, diversify is usually a word that is used during a decline, not enhancement. I don't know, that's just my mother's years of being a high school English teacher coming through there.
I know we had it last year. This is almost word for word what it was last year.
Yeah.
But I like where Mr. Graham's going with that one. Part of me also, when I think of the diversification, I'm almost like, I also want us to avoid any thought that we're gonna try and move to a property tax too.
Okay, number 4, conduct a utility rate study to ensure water and sewer funds have proper reserves and fair rates for customers. And then number 5,
Could we say on that one that we're gonna implement, conduct a utility rate study and implement rates which ensure water and sewer funds have proper reserves? I mean, doing a study is one thing, and we already said we don't wanna do any more studies. We said, last year we said we're done studying, now it's action time, so.
Through the chair to the council, so I think any rate comes back to council through ordinance and public testimony, so I'm not sure that you can bind to the implementation of whatever the rate study comes back as.
and this was really ensuring that we understand what the proper reserves are and what our rates should be, and finding a formula that's predictable going forward. So people do not like to know that, hey, we decided we're just gonna raise your rates whenever it feels good, and to index it into something.
I'd ask the clerk though, in what you just stated, aren't these goals and priorities for the council too? They're not just for administration, they're broad goals and
Through the chair. No, absolutely. I just meant in my mind, if you put in the word implement, you're binding that whatever comes back will be implemented. And there's so many factors that you need to consider once you get the study, what the factors are. But, I mean, you're right, it is the council's document, but.
Then wouldn't we just leave it at conduct a utility rate study? I mean, when did it end
Well,
at
I
that?
think some of the concerns that finance has is to ensure that we have a unified understanding of what a proper reserve is. Correct me if I'm wrong, and what the rate should be.
Well, I think it also comes back where the council is implementing a fair, as Councilmember Graham said, you could almost say you could go broader in a sense and just, instead of saying it's a rate study, to implement a system that will provide proper reserves and a fair rates for I'm not a wordsmith, but because again, we're not just doing a rate study to do a rate study. And that's just a comment, Council.
Mr. Graham?
So are you kind of saying there, Ted, that you kind of get rid of conduct a utility rate study to change that to implement utility rates to ensure water and sewer? Is that
Right.
kind of where you're headed?
Or a broader,
Could we say like rate structure?
rate structure.
Instead of a
Implement
study?
rate structure that's
Implement a rate structure to ensure water.
proper reserves and
Yep.
So
fair,
Keep everything after T.
proper reserves and fair rates for customers. A utility study, in essence, is just a step in that whole process.
Yeah.
So repeat what we want to do, conduct a rate study.
So everything in red would be the new.
Does that look right?
Everything black would be stricken.
Perfect.
Do you see what time it is?
We should do this at the mug shot.
Okay, number
We've been
five.
through this past year.
Number five, establish a fiscal policy that provides guidance for debt management, infrastructure replacement, reserve metrics, and other fiscal operations.
Any changes? Hearing none. Goal 4.
Number four is infrastructure, refine and improve the capital improvement plan to sustain, preserve, and improve city infrastructure to provide for continued growth. One, identify infrastructure gaps and pursue funding, address capital needs, and deferred maintenance costs. Okay, number
Number
two, implement the airport master plan by marketing efforts, expand the commercial footprint at the Wasilla Airport, and pursue funding to upgrade water and wastewater infrastructure to attract large-scale commercial development. And just a note there, the airport master plan, phase 1 and 2 is complete, and it will be coming forward. You want to speak on that?
Yeah, well, it's out for public review right now. So, we're waiting. It'll be, I think, close to the end of February for the public review.
Number 3.
Number three is upgrade and expand the sewer plant facility, focusing on sludge management and digester improvements according to updated water and sewer plan recommendations. 4, continue paving all local roads to improve connectivity, accessibility, and safety within the community.
I'm not comment on this one if I may.
Yeah.
You know, it says continue paving all local roads. I have heard from some residents, they do not want their road paved because they do not want enhanced connectivity, enhanced traffic through their neighborhoods. I mean, they're on these little stub roads that have 4 houses on them, you know, and they don't, you know, pave the road, and then all of a sudden you connect it to something else, and they don't want that. So I know, you know, I think it's back when Bert was mayor, you know, we said, yeah, we're gonna pave all the local roads. And-
Was going to pave all the city
Right.
roads, not local.
Right, you know, but, you know, I don't think, I think that was a grand goal until we heard from people that said, well, you know, there's nothing wrong with my road. And if you pave it, then I'm gonna have to move my ditch, then I'm gonna have to move this, do that, the other thing, there's only 3 houses here, why do I wanna do that? So, you know, continuing paving, you know, strike all local and put in city, like the mayor says. Continue paving city roads,
Yeah.
instead of
Because
saying
when
all.
you take all out, that,
Right.
that leaves whoever don't want it. Why would you not? But anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like annexation. I mean, we've got these little pockets that are not part of the city, you know, I mean, because that's what the residents wanted, so. Any
Number 5.
comments?
Number 5, allocate $500,000 annually for road maintenance and paving.
So Eric, we used to do we did $1 million a year for 5 years. Last year we did $1,250,000, I think, or we allocated that. We weren't able to spend it all because of the weather, but is 500,000 enough? I mean, a lot of these roads are,
They're the more
Been there a
expensive
while.
ones now. Yeah. So you know, we kind of talked about policies before. We would need to come up with a policy on how you nominate your road not to be paved because the plan had been we're coming through. So in the same vein, on you know, what do we want to do for sticking with or modifying that pavement initiative? You're right. It had been $1 million. This was kind of a nod to the fact that maybe we want to slow down on that, and the last ones are chosen at some. We need to come up with a plan on how you would nominate not to have your road upgraded at this point, because it's those previous goals and initiatives made it clear everything was going to get paved. Some guidance from the council on what we should be doing now.
right, but mainly what I'm concerned here is the word maintenance, road maintenance. You know, I mean, I think we're gonna do a lot more road maintenance than we are paving this year.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a broad brush word. I think the initial.
And the question being, is $500,000 enough?
Madam Mayor.
Mr. Crafton,
Thank you, Mayor.
talk fast.
Part of how this one got here was, it was a push that I had done, because the conversation Eric and I had was, hey, we're gonna reach a point where we're doing one road paving a year because it's requiring all of these upgrades, or obviously it sounds like we have some people that we need to figure out how, whether we're gonna pave this or not. So my thought with this one was, we need to start preparing for, I use Mission Hills as the example, where that neighborhood is, I swear those roads are original. I mean, they are not wide enough for the amount of traffic and you'd think you were off-roading in some of the streets on there. It's getting pretty rough in there. And so the idea was to start saving for when, I mean, ideally, that whole neighborhood needs to be ripped up and redone. So that was that was my thought, was to start saving a plan for that, instead of going, oh, we're gonna just spend $1.5 million this year on this because this is what the project is. It was more so the future planning of, all right, we're gonna start creating a CIP account for this that says, that way every year, whether we spent 500,000 or not, we were gonna have set aside 500,000. That was my idea around it, so that years were gonna be high, years were gonna be low, essentially.
Madam Mayor
Mr. Johnson,
and Council, I believe that it should say allocate funding annually for the road maintenance and paving. Mainly because if we say a specific number here, that is the whole object of our budgeting process. And I will look for the administration to come back during our budget process with a number. So we don't need a number here, but we want them to be able to provide the funding.
I don't think we have a problem with that structure. This is just a nod to the fact that previous years had put a number in.
Yes.
I don't like the number.
So just take the number out.
yeah. Number 6,
Number 6, utilize the MPO and MVPO for transportation funding to develop and sustain future infrastructure, including supplying matching funds as needed. Number 7, evaluate development opportunities for future depot. This is the train depot, including the adjacent lot for economic growth or improvement accessibility, and increased tourism.
Madam Mayor. Sorry, going back to number 7 there. I feel like last budget cycle, the council basically came back and said we didn't want to do anything with that at this time. Is this just saying we want to start building a plan now? Is that what I'm understanding out of this? 'Cause
We're
I mean,
looking at, what are the possibilities over there? There is a plan, correct, Eric? There is a train depot plan.
Sort of. I mean, this is asking if you want us to continue to think about that, or if you, for this year, don't want to talk about it. It could come back next year if it's just not something you even want us to spend the mental energy on.
I think my concern is more so what the budget's gonna look like this year. I mean, last year we pulled, the way I look at it is we pulled from savings last year, so do we take a year off and say, hey, let's tighten the belt a little bit and minimize what we're gonna do? So I would be for striking this year.
No, I disagree. Madam Mayor?
Mr. Johnson,
I think that things have changed between this year and last year. This year we have some interesting possibilities with tourism, and I think that we need to explore those opportunities at tourism that didn't exist last year. 557 is coming online. They've actually completed their first steam tests. So there is the possibility now we will be using the train station for demo flights with real steam engines. So I think that we need to have a plan anyway.
I would be in favor of kind of rephrasing the beginning of it to where it says evaluate development opportunities. I would say we just encourage development in the depot area. I mean, let's let the private sector decide how, to be one of the factors in how that's gonna be developed, as opposed to saying, well, the government is gonna go in and fix that brownfield area or whatever. Let's let the private sector come forward and say, it's not the right time, to do that, and then at some point, somebody's gonna say, well, yeah, there's enough traffic now where we can have a coffee shop, and if we're gonna have a coffee shop, we might as well have a bakery, and if we're gonna have a bakery, we might as well, I would just say encourage development as opposed to evaluate development opportunities, that implies that we're gonna go out and look and search for specific opportunities out there.
You need to keep in mind that that other area is a brownfield area, and right now, there's grants to clean it up.
Right.
So,
Which makes it developable.
and don't all of you pass out, but Mr. Graham and I agree on, on putting, them old buildings over there and making a,
And just for the record, I did have to call the mayor's secretary into her office when we were discussing this, because I said I was gonna crawl across the desk and kiss her on the lips.
No. no.
That's on the
No.
record.
That was not part of the goals.
Violence, I
So-
want you all to know that.
Real quick here, just looking at the word for future depot area. Should that say the depot area because it already exists?
Yeah.
I feel like that's, yeah, it should say the
Thank you.
depot area because it almost sounds like we're going to create a different area.
Encourage development of the depot area for economic
Encourage
change.
development for the depot area, including, yeah, I like that.
It says adjacent.
Does that look good to you guys? Okay. So goal number 5 is something we added this year, and that is the recruiting retention program. Develop and implement a robust recruitment retention program to boost talent acquisitions and minimize turnover for executive level positions. And this is something that HR worked hard on to say this is how we could initiate success when it comes to hiring some of these harder positions. And if you have any questions about this one or changes, Kim is here to answer your questions. First one, create policies and procedures to ensure organization-wide stability and service level consistency. 2 is to update Title III to implement modern employee policies, procedures for successful recruitment and retention tailored to each department. And the 3rd is to work with the departments to update safety programs, policies, and procedures. Any changes in any of those?
Goal 6.
Economic development, seek innovative strategic opportunities through partnerships between the city, other local governments, and private sector to improve the business opportunities. Those have not changed. We did clean it up a little bit to collaborate with economic partners to investigate implementation of business support services, employment training programs. And this is something that was brought to our attention through sales tax. When there's a new business that wants to learn how to do business in the city, whether it's how to get a business license or how to get a permit, the local SBDC and some other agencies have asked us if we are interested in them assisting instead of using our staff to do that. So I just put in that as an option that we can bring some of those possibilities forward if you guys want to look at them. But it is a kind of a new partnership that our sales tax auditor has been managing and sees some real value in that. Just the amount of time it takes finance to get people through the process. And so that was one that we added. Number 3, build relationships that support continued funding for federal, state, local, private to expand the city programs, and then secure additional resources. And the 4th one was there last year. Is there any changes?
Yes.
Yes.
It looks like we've got diversify local economy on point 1B, and then on number 4, you have identify and development opportunities for diversify the economy. That's saying the same thing in 2 different places.
Sorry.
Strike 4?
Yeah. Thank you for catching that.
Okay. Is there a motion to exit committee of the whole?
So moved by Councilman Johnson.
Crafton seconds.
It has been moved by Councilmember Johnson and seconded by Councilmember Crafton to exit committee of the whole. Is there an objection? Hearing none, the motion is adopted. The time is 8:49. And I'll open and close audience comments. There's nobody in the audience. And bring it back to the dais. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Council. Real quick, you saw the memo I handed out at our last budget development meeting in the proposed budget calendar by administration. There was not appetite for a Saturday meeting. So here's some proposed dates. We want to get those on the calendar, and also in speaking with the finance department and scheduling these, which they agree with, there's another meeting added in which our finance consultant wants to present some detailed information on the budget, and he'll need at least 2 hours. So if I could have a motion to schedule those.
Is there a motion to schedule these dates?
Madam Mayor, I move to schedule the dates on the mayor's memo, items 2, 3, and 4.
Is there a second?
Go ahead.
Cottle seconds.
The motion has been made by Councilmember Graham and seconded by Councilmember Cottle to put these dates on the schedule.
And just note, if you read May 4th and 5th, we're gonna start at 5.
Yes.
Madam Mayor. My wife would really appreciate it if we did not do one on the 4th. I'd prefer we move that one to the 6th if there's any reason we could, if there's a reason. There's nothing on the other calendar. It's my anniversary.
You can celebrate the 3rd. It won't make no difference.
That's just a goal.
Yes, yeah.
It can be delayed.
Yeah.
I don't think that's just a goal.
Yeah.
It's 8:51, guys.
Any objection?
Is there an objection to the motion?
For keeping it as is or moving the
As
4th to
is.
the 6th?
As is. We can always change it a little bit.
I mean, I'd
Down the
object.
line.
I'd object to that.
Okay,
One,
roll call vote, Madam Clerk.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Cottle,
Yes.
Councilmember Graham,
No.
okay.
Councilmember Crafton,
No.
Councilmember Johnson. It's
Come on,
No,
It's gonna fail.
okay.
it's gonna
It's
fail,
failed.
so, okay.
Councilmember Rubio. You
don't
said
have to
no,
vote.
Councilmember Johnson. Councilmember Rubio. So we actually,
doesn't
council,
matter,
we
yeah.
did this incorrectly. Now
Yes.
you're gonna fail my entire schedule.
Yep.
So if we could just, for a training opportunity, ignore this didn't happen, and Councilmember Crafton, would you like to amend my schedule?
Yeah, I was trying to get there, but we got called into a roll call vote
Uh-huh.
there, so. Madam Mayor, I'd move that we move the May 4th meeting at 5 PM to May 6th at 5 PM.
So strike May 4, insert 6.
Correct.
Okay, we
And-
are
And
voting,
approve items 2 and 4.
Well, those.
Correct.
that's
All
on
I'm
the
doing is
table.
amending that one.
we are amending the motion. So we're voting on the amendment.
Need a second.
I need a second.
Rubio seconds.
And we're voting on moving it to the 6th
At 5?
at 5.
Remember this.
And so, is there objection to the motion? Hearing none, the motion passes. Now we're back to the original motion as amended.
If
Is there
there's,
objection to the motion?
for the record, I have no objection.
Motion passes.
So just to recap then, council, we're setting our meeting with our finance consultant on April 29, 6 o'clock, which is a Wednesday here in Chambers. And then the following week, May 5th and 6th, we'll begin departmental budget presentations, and that's a 5 o'clock start time.
Madam Mayor, if I might just add one comment here. I need to be in the Mayo Clinic during some of those dates, so I will be calling in as best I can for those meetings.
Okay. Councilmember Graham.
What a wonderful evening. Thank you for everybody's participation.
Councilmember Cottle.
Thank you for all staying awake and being here tonight.
Councilmember Johnson.
Thank you, everybody, for participating, even though you didn't maybe talk, but I appreciate your attendance. It was a great meeting, in my opinion. And you're probably
Councilmember-
tired of hearing me talk.
Councilmember Crafton.
Thank you, Mayor. Since Lori's here, I'd really like to ask the question about the E911 from Monday night. I believe the question was in regards to what it can be covered, and then there was some talk about trying to get legislation to change to allow it to cover more. So I was really curious if we can get an answer to that.
Well, I wasn't here Monday night.
To restate it, so the discussion was around the E911 surcharge, what it's allowed to cover currently, and then there was discussion around trying to adjust, I believe there's ways to adjust it to cover more than what it currently covers, was the conversation.
Well, to adjust it to accommodate more, you would have to open up this legislation at the state level.
Correct, okay, that was the part of the conversation.
Yes, so that would have to be opened up at the state level and then changes made there. I've been through that process before, not here in the state, but you'll have a lot of your telcos there that will have a lot of opinions on that. I can tell you that from firsthand knowledge. Because they expect that 911 money to be spent to get the delivery of the 911 call to the 911 center so that people can call 911. And that's currently pretty much what the 911 funds are meant for, is just to get the 911 call to the 911 center. And then anything past that is on your local governments to handle.
Okay, thank you. That is all. I thank you, everybody, for staying with us. I know a lot of the staff were here, and we didn't get to talk to you as much as we normally do. So thank you for being here.
Councilmember Rubio.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Great night. Love the presentation with the budget. Directors and administration, thank you for hanging in there. It's teamwork.
Thank you guys for all being here. I think this is one of the best budget presentations and whatever, so hopefully we won't have 16 meetings this time. So, anyway, with nothing further, we are adjourned at 8:56.